Welcome to Animorphs Anonymous, the podcast where we casually discuss the Animorphs one book at a time.
I'm Kaycie.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here to talk you through the plot of each book.
But more accurately, take you on tangent trips, factoid forays, and say, well, actually, as much as possible.
Join us on the 1st and the 15th of each month, and we'll take you along on our mission.
And we promise to have you back under the 2-hour time limit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army.
Hello and welcome. We're back.
We're back!
A dinosaur story. Do you remember that movie?
I do. I just watched a trailer from it the other day that I found on YouTube because somebody told a story about it, and I was like, oh yeah, they were running amok in like New York, and the adventure was a lot more convoluted than I remembered.
Yes. Also, John Goodman was the T-Rex.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Huh. I missed that.
John Goodman.
He was a good man.
He was a good man. Is a good man? Is he
okay,
a good man?
Is he dead?
No, he's alive, but we don't know
So
if he's a good man, because a lot of men that we thought were good men are not so good men.
Because they're controllers.
It's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, probably. Where does he live? Is he central
John
to
Goodman?
the invasion? Yeah, what's his home address?
Where does he live? He won't tell you.
Why not?
Because he can't. None of us can.
I already know his last name.
Well, there's a lot of people called Goodman, right? A
Um,
few Goodman.
There's probably a few good men.
Yeah, with Jack Nicholson. He was in that movie. A Few Good Men.
I've never seen that movie.
I just know that that's where that quote, "You can't handle the truth," comes from. They're like yelling in a courtroom. That's all I know about that movie.
Alright, I'll accept it. Then again, I quote movies all the time that I am unsure if I've seen.
But you know enough about them to know where they're from, and that's all you need.
I was gonna say, I was just talking to my friend the other day about that scene where, or like, what's that movie where the guy melted down toy army soldiers to make bullets, and we were trying to remember it for like the longest time, and then I googled that scene, and it turns out it's The Patriot, and she's like, ah yes, I remember the entire movie now. I'm like, oh, I have never seen it. I just saw like that clip, and that was it.
Is that the one with Mel Gibson?
Yes.
Okay, I've seen the movie poster. I know nothing else about the movie. I just remember the movie poster with Mel Gibson's face.
I think I saw like a thing on a TV once with that one scene of him melting down the toy soldiers, and that is all I know about it. So
Yes.
between the two of us, we've seen the poster.
He was also in Braveheart.
Yes, that's much more important.
Is it? I've never seen Braveheart.
I
I haven't seen a lot of Mel Gibson movies, actually. Just Pocahontas.
Wasn't he in another one
Chicken
about
Run.
space? He was in Chicken Run?
He's in Chicken Run.
What did he do in Chicken
He was
Run?
the rooster guy.
Oh.
Rocky Roads.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Alright. This is becoming clear to me now. I remember Chicken Run a little bit.
It's great.
It's alright.
It's about chickens and they run.
I always get it confused with Wallace and Gromit because the animation styles are so similar.
It's the same studio. Aardman.
Nailed it. See
Birdman.
that? Nailed it.
Jeez, grommets. Anyway, this is
That's
chaos.
the quote.
That's the stinger right there.
Yep. That's what we know about Wallace and Gromit. Welcome to the Wallace and Gromit podcast, where we tell you that they like cheese and we know nothing else.
That's all you need to know.
And also talk about Mel Gibson movies that we haven't seen.
Oh my god. This is an interesting opening to an
This is
Animorphs
going-
podcast.
Really well for an Animorphs podcast.
Oh boy, it's been a while. Oh, I forgot to tell you, next episode will be the Ides of March episode, so we should address that somewhere.
Ooh, okay. I have, in the shared Google Drive, the episode, what they are episodes, like Valentine's Day, or Kaycie's birthday, or that's about it.
Yeah. We are gonna watch on my birthday. Well, not on my birthday. I mean,
Well,
not that
on your-
not that anyone knows my birthday. It's It's not pertinent information.
That's okay. There's probably plenty of people who are born on your birthday.
I was trying to remember celebrities that were born on my birthday, because I knew it at one point. I want to say Whitney Houston, but I don't think that's true.
Oh, Robert Redford was born on my birthday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Who's that?
He's the guy that's in the horse movie. Oh my god, why have I forgotten the title of this?
Black Beauty?
No, it's the one where he's a cowboy and the girl gets hit by a truck and she brings her horse to him and they're damaged and he, like, ends up sleeping with the mom and it's very confusing. Silent Call
of the Wild?
It's not
No, that's a wolf.
Wild. That's it. I'm looking it up right now. Sorry. This is going to bug me because I read the book. I should really remember this.
I almost said Where the Red Fern Grows. That's also a dog movie. I'm
is
the dog
called
person. What?
Are you ready for this title? It's called The Horse Whisperer.
Oh. Based on the true story of the Horse Whisperer?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I should have remembered that, especially since I said the horse movie, and that was literally only one word off from what the actual title was. You know, I only have enough space in my head for, like, bird facts and Animorphs, and that's really it.
I mean, that's all you need, really.
I hope so. And, like, maybe pop song lyrics.
That's also all you need. That's very important.
Like 50% Animorphs, 30% bird facts, 20% pop song lyrics.
I love it. You are a complete human being.
I am a rounded individual.
Yes.
I will do well in the world.
Well, speaking of Animorphs...
And well-rounded individuals.
Yeah. So...
Oh, we're at Marco's book!
Yay!
Yay!
I was looking forward to this book because, Marco was kind of the one I was sort of fascinated with as far as, like, he's like the comedy guy, but he's also got a really tragic backstory, so I was kind of like, alright, well, how is this gonna go? And really I was just very, very sad the whole time, so,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Well,
another emotionally charged book.
What's the saying? It's tragedy and comedy are the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was, I mean, I know Marco, like, I know the characters, that's what sticks with me more than anything else in these books, so, like, I kind of knew what we were in for, but, I still, it always kind of, it's hard reading through these, and, I feel bad because I've spent the last three podcasts calling Marco an asshole, and I just want to state right up front that when I say, like, asshole, I mean, like, he's really lovable. He just says some dickish things, and I do love Marco. I do not dislike him as a character at all. He's one of my favorites, actually. I didn't mean to call him an asshole, so I'm going to apologize for that right now.
I mean, there were definitely a couple of lines in the book where I just, like, seriously rolled my eyes. So I'm like, I can't believe you said that, Marco. And I will bring them up as we go through the plot, I'm sure.
Okay, perfect.
But yes, I agree. So far, he's not a bad person. He just says some rude things sometimes. He's a rude boy.
And I think he is rude because he can see, like, the truth of the matter. And sometimes it's like it comes off as rude because it's said bluntly, but if you look at what he's saying, it's like you get mad almost because it's true and you don't want it to be. So, like, you're getting angry at him for telling you the conclusion that you didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
I think. So, yeah. He's not an asshole, I'm sorry. I really, like, when I was re-listening through the podcast for, like, editing and things, I was like, man, I've come down really harshly on Marco, and that's not what I meant at all.
Oh.
I know. Especially
I can say whatever I want, because I can always retcon later and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I just haven't read the books.
You can be like, oh no, I thought Cassie was a wonderful human being, and now I understand why everyone dislikes her.
Oh my god!
I'm kidding.
I'm so curious. I really want to know. But
Well,
I probably won't find out until much later, right?
You're not going to find out until about July of 2020.
That is 2.5 years from now. What the fuck?
I mean, you'll see moments shine through before then, but, you know, you're gonna have to wait a while to get to the real
my
conclusion.
God. I can't wait that long. I need to know.
No, you can't know. We're a spoiler-free zone for the most part.
Crap.
This
is the burden I have to bear.
This is the burden you have to bear. Just like, see, this is our sliding scale of how these books are going to go. The very first book, I was like strangling myself not to tell you things, and it gets a little easier for me each book, but it gets a little harder for you each book. Mm-hmm. So this is like, we'll meet somewhere in the middle, like book, like what, 20, somewhere between book 22 and 23. We'll meet in that middle ground where we're both like on even footing. But until then, it's going to be a little easier for me and a little worse for you.
Hooray!
Hooray! And that is really the core of Animorphs.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about Marco because he opens this book on a super heroic note, and I'll just start rolling this into my apology of like, I'm sorry for calling him an asshole. I really do love him. And this book opens with Marco leaving the 7-Eleven where he's had to shop for groceries because his dad has been an emotional wreck for years now since his mom has died. They're coming up on 2 years. And he's bought bread, low-fat milk, and peanut M&Ms.
That is all you need.
That's all you need. What else would like a 12-year-old buy at a 7-Eleven? He's like, we gotta live for a week. Low-fat milk, bread, peanut M&Ms.
I would say, though, if I were in his position and I was going to 7-Eleven, I would also get a slushie, because that's what you do.
Obviously.
I used to live next to a 7-Eleven.
Did you?
Yeah, and I got a slushie from there once, and then the 7-Eleven closed down, and I just had so many regrets. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, if he had gotten a slushie, that would have made the next part of this, like, even more heartbreaking.
Aww.
Because he loses all his groceries. So he would have lost his groceries and his slushie.
Oh my god. So, okay, I have to tell you that when I watch something or read something where the character was, like, buying food and he's, like, carrying it home, and then he has to, like, drop it for some reason, that makes me so sad. I can't even explain to you how sad that makes me. I'm just like, you had a mission and you went out to buy this food and you had to drop it and you lost it, now it's ruined. Oh my god, I'm just getting so upset just thinking about it. I don't know why I get so upset about this, but I do.
Well, I have to keep asking questions now. Like, wait, like, what part of it obsessed you the most? Like, that they lost it, or just that they... Like, what? What is it?
I don't know. I just... I don't know. Or, like, if someone a character is carrying food and then they, like, get attacked and they drop all their food. I don't know why, but, I literally can't even explain. It makes me so sad. It's like when a little kid loses, like, a doll or, like, a stuffed animal, and then they find it later, and it's just the stuffed animal sitting haphazardly in the dirt. Even in real life, when I see an abandoned stuffed animal, I get really upset. I don't know what... Oh my god. It's such a dumb thing to get upset about, but I'm just...
It's not. Have you ever read the Tolkien story about the little toy dog that goes to the moon?
No!
So Tolkien wrote it for his sons who, I believe the backstory of it was they were on vacation and they had this little toy dog that they loved and they lost it. So Tolkien wrote this whole story and he goes on these series of adventures where he's like, he just goes through these wild, fantastical things and meets the man on the moon, and he eventually comes back and like finds a new owner in the story, and like it's heartwarming. And I just think you'd enjoy it, being extremely sad when people lose their things.
Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm not sad, because, like, in my head I'm like, oh, well, my eggs are off for a fantastic adventure.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. I feel like we're right back in the whole, like, Tobias in the mall scene right here, and we were, like, 2 pages in.
Oh, man. I'm sorry I got so upset. There are much more pertinent things to get upset about in this book. And I'm just like, Marco lost his groceries.
Well, there is, but you know what? He has the power to fight aliens, but at the end of the day, his dad doesn't have a full-time job. His dad is scraping by, taking up these terrible, like, janitorial positions, and he's a computer engineer, so, like, this guy has fallen, and he has to work really hard to get that money, and, like, Marco just lost it. And it's, like, one of those things, like, it's a little kid trying to keep it together for his dad, and he even says in this book, he feels like he lost his mom and his dad because his dad's so despondent. And now
I thought you were going to say he lost his mom and his groceries.
He lost his mom and his groceries. He bought those M&Ms, and when his mom died, he also lost those M&Ms.
Oh my god. I'm so sorry. I'm still stuck on this groceries thing.
And, like, the worst part is that he doesn't even go back to get them, but in another scene later in the book, they go back and get stuff out of the garbage that they stashed there.
Yeah,
so
I was noticing that.
Marco doesn't even care about his own crap, but he goes back to get other stuff.
Oh my god.
Wow, this really... I didn't know you were so upset by this sort of thing.
I think it represents a loss of innocence, kind of. Like, you were just doing this mundane, everyday errand, and then something terrible happened and it just, like, fell apart, and that's, like, I don't know. I really can't explain it, and...
I'm sorry, I wish you could see my face right now. I'm laughing so hard.
Oh my god. This has been like a 10-minute rant.
About how upset we are about Marco losing his groceries. And, like, the other thing is, this isn't even, like, groceries. This is what a freaking 12-year-old buys when you give them $10 and they go to 7-Eleven. Like, this isn't even... It's not like he lost the food he had for the week, which he did because this is what he bought for the week, but this would not feed anyone for any amount of time. So it's like, you bought this useless stuff and then you immediately lost it, and we're so sad for you, but you would have died if this was all you had to eat.
Oh my god.
I'm crying. I'm laughing so
I am
hard.
too. Oh my god. Our listeners are gonna be like, what the fuck are these girls on?
They're gonna be like, why are they so sad that he lost the, like, milk and the bread? And you know what? This probably wasn't even, like, a gallon of milk. It was probably one of those tiny little, like, quart bottles. It probably was, like, not even... Oh. This is so upsetting.
Oh my god. I've roped you into my despair. I'm so sorry.
I really, at the beginning of this, I was willing, like, I made a note of the groceries because I thought it was funny, and I was gonna, like, just bypass it and, like, mention it. And
then I'm having a fucking meltdown over here.
I didn't realize I was gonna, like, this was gonna cause such an emotional outburst.
Oh my god. I didn't either. I just thought I would mention that stuff like that makes me sad, but then it just turned into so much more as I got into it. It's like a rabbit hole of despair.
I feel like we just got a glimpse into, like, what therapy is like.
Oh my god. Yeah! I feel a lot better owning up to this thing about myself that I've had for a really long time and have never really confronted before.
I feel like you've really opened up to me and that our relationship just, like, gained another level.
Did we just become better friends?
We did just become better friends.
Oh my god. Anyway, 20 minutes into this podcast, and we're not even, like, a page into this goddamn book.
I swear we're on page 2.
Oh, okay.
We must be. I can look, I have the book right next to me because this was one of the few books where I actually have the paperback copy right here. And I did spend a large portion of my time that I was supposed to be reading it flipping through the corners watching him morph into a gorilla.
Oh, I forgot they did that on the books.
Right? Oh, there was a young child over. She was like 7 for New Year's Eve. It's a friend of mine's daughter, and like I ran out. Like she was sitting normally on the couch, like a responsible adult, and I ran out. I'm like, check out my books. Look at the corners. They morph into animals. Isn't this cool? And I'm like shoving it in her face and like flipping the pages, and she's like, that's nice. Okay.
Like, back off, crazy.
Yeah, she's like, listen, this is a little weird. Can you please tone it down a notch? And I'm like, but he turns into a gorilla. Look at it.
You know what? Kids these days have fucking iPads and bullshit. They don't care about
have grocery list apps where they buy, like, peanut butter and jelly and bread all together.
Ugh.
Oh, well, I'm just gonna talk about what happens next. We got
yeah, we gotta.
This might turn into therapy hour.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry, everyone.
Please don't be. I feel really enlightened right now.
Cool.
So, what happens next after Marco drops his groceries and loses them is he then decides to take on 4 thugs who are trying to rob an old man. And he kind of has this moment of like, do I do it? Do I go? Or do I just like let it be, like not mess with it? And he, in the end, goes, yeah, I gotta save this guy because I have the power to do it. So he goes into the alley and starts like epically beating up these thugs, like throwing them into the dumpsters and tossing them over his shoulder. One guy comes at him with a knife and he just like drops the guy.
Did we mention that Marco is now a gorilla?
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, if that's not mentioned, then Marco, the 12-year-old, just like goes in and starts like Chuck Norris on these dudes.
That's right. He turns into Big Jim.
Okay,
My bad. Sorry. He turned into a gorilla.
Points. Okay.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and fulfill Marco's wildest dreams right now and tell you he did this as himself, as a boy.
As a human boy.
Marco would like me to tell you that because he thinks it's funny.
Oh my god. He would like that.
He would like that. So he's a gorilla, or just a small boy, if you prefer. And he's dropped.
It's open for interpretation.
It was a little unclear when they said he went into the shadows and morphed. We could have missed it.
Yes,
I'm leaving it open. So he starts taking on these guys, and ends up like slamming them all and putting them into the dumpster. Like from what I gathered, one by one, until there's the final guy left who draws a gun on him. He throws the entire dumpster at the guy and just levels him, loses track of the gun. And right when he's kind of like, I better, I'm going to get out of here and call the cops, let them handle him. The old man, like, is behind him, like, saying, get out of here, you demon. And the guy has the gun leveled at him, the old dude. So Marco goes, like, screaming out of there, still in gorilla morph, as fast as he can, with bullets whizzing past him, going like, oh, this is why you don't help people. That was stupid.
It was so sad. I'm like, he was trying to do a good thing, and...
That's the open of this book.
Hooray! Marco, the most reluctant character, finally decides to do something good, and then he was like, oh, wait, never mind. Nobody wants that.
Marco gets... Things come back to bite Marco in the ass all the time.
Yeah.
Poor Marco. Yeah. So Marco starts giving us the rundown of the characters, and one thing that struck me when he was describing Jake is it's the normal, like, he's the leader, and he's, like, a broad guy, and he's, like, he's kind of handsome, whatever, brave, blah, blah, blah. And then he's, like, mentioning him, he's like, and he has brown hair and brown eyes. And I'm like, well, it's really plain. Like,
wait. Didn't he say Jake had, like, sensible brown hair? Trustworthy brown eyes?
Yeah, something like that. Like, very, like, boring descriptor words.
Sure.
Yeah. And then he's like, he mentions Cassie as his girlfriend now, but nobody says that. Rachel's the total babe gone psycho.
That's, I was a little perplexed by that line. Because I think I mentioned in an earlier podcast, I was like, oh, hey, does Marco, like, have a thing for Rachel? Because, like, we know that Rachel's, like, objectively, conventionally beautiful. But when he described her as a total babe, I was kind of like, okay. And then he goes on to add, unfortunately, she's totally insane. I was like, all right, Marco.
That could go either way for me with Marco. Like, one, it could be like, oh, that's a bit of an awkward line, like, that he would say that. But the other thing that we find out about Marco is he watches, like, an insane amount of Baywatch. So I feel like he throws out those taglines all the time. Like, and it's just a reference to, like, the terrible daytime TV he watches.
She's a bodacious babe.
Oh, exactly. What? Exactly. Like, I don't know. It could go either way for me. I choose to ignore it.
Yeah.
I choose to ignore it because apparently the only person I openly criticize is Cassie.
Oh.
I know. I try not to. And then we have Tobias, and he mentions that, like, I actually wrote this down word for word. He goes, I tease Tobias sometimes. What happened to him scares me. And Marco's never shy about admitting his fear. Like, even when he agrees to these crazy missions, he's like, you realize how stupid this is. And he's he's very open and honest about when he's scared, but it just, like, when you read it like that, it's always like, oh yeah, like, he's right. This is terrifying. So, yeah. I just liked that part. So after his descriptors, we cut back to Jake saying, you did the right thing, but we really shouldn't be morphing. And Rachel's like, yeah, probably not, but, like, I totally agree with you. What you did was the right thing to do, and you were heroic. And then Marco goes, well, I know I'm in the wrong if Rachel's agreeing with me.
Right.
And I love that line. But it's also, I think I've said this in the past podcast, that really Marco and Rachel do end up on the same side of arguments a lot of the time. They take totally different ways to get there, but they end up on the same side. So yeah, just another moment of that happening. And then Axe comes galloping into the picture beautifully through the fields, wonderfully, like a small horse or a large deer, but blue. Yeah, I realized I don't think we described Andalites at all on this podcast.
They are blue and have 4 legs and hooves and eyes and eye stalks and no mouth and a scorpion-esque tail with a blade on the end. And they're furry.
They're blue and furry.
Oh, and then the line, Cassie and Rachel think Axe is cute. I wouldn't know, being a guy. I was like, okay.
Yeah, but he admitted earlier that, well, never mind. He said Jake was a good-looking guy. He knows. He's just not saying it. He just doesn't want to judge an alien. Yeah, but, yeah, he's kind of like a centaur, but...
A centaur?
So Axe comes galloping up, and I don't know why Axe immediately launches into this conversation, but he's like, we gotta talk about honor, guys. And the Andalite honor system. Honors! And this is really... I mean, I do know why he talks about it. This is kind of the basis of Andalite society. Like, there's a lot of... a lot hinges on honor and doing the right thing and never being afraid and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah. These guys are... They're super military right now.
Prince Zuko.
Yay! Prince Zuko. They're the Fire Nation. Oh, no. The Fire Nation would be... No, this doesn't work. We can't make an Avatar The Last Airbender analogy here.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I tried to work it in, but we'll just have to save that for the Avatar cast.
The Avatar cast? Are we doing an Avatar podcast?
Apparently we're doing an Avatar podcast.
All
the
right.
movie and the TV show. And the movie.
What movie? There is no movie.
The movie, with the blue cat people.
Oh, that one.
Avatar by John Cameron Mitchell? John Cameron Mitchell.
That would be a very different movie.
It's like Hedwig and the Angry Inch, but with blue aliens.
I would watch that.
I would too, actually. Let's pitch that. Copyright. Okay. Don't steal that. That's ours.
Yeah, that's ours. Back off.
Back off. So, Axe comes in, starts talking about honor. And Marco is arguing that he doesn't exactly want to invite Visor 3 into their little party using this distress beacon that Axe has built. Which, the whole plan is now that they're going to build a distress beacon, they're going to call a Yerk ship down, and then they're going to take out the pilots, and Axe is going to steal it so he can go back home. And the trade-off of them risking their lives and doing this harebrained scheme is that Axe is going to try and hurry along the Andalite War Council or whatever, and he's going to try to get help to them faster. Try. And this whole basis is on the fact that he's Elfangor's brother, and he thinks his people will listen to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one listens to a child.
No one listens to a child. This is what these books are about. At the end of the day, no one listens to children. I don't think that's at all the moral of these stories, but I'll throw it in there. So, they're coming up with this plan, and they're going to go and get all the parts he needs to make this. Oh, there was another part of this I wanted to mention, actually, just backtracking a slight bit, and that is that during this conversation about how they're building this transponder and distress beacon and everything, Marco says that he's afraid, and Axe asks him directly, are you afraid of Visor 3? And Marco goes, yeah. And Axe is kind of like, well, that's not the Andalite way. And Marco goes, like, Yeah, but have you ever taken him on? Have you ever taken on the Hork-Bajir, the Taxon? And Axe is kind of like, well, no. And then Marco's like, you're terrified. And there's sometimes that it feels like you'd rather die than deal with the terror. And there's nothing you can do about that. And I just love that Marco's like the hard-hitting part here with this. Like, listen, no matter what, you're going to be horrified and terrified and like just scared out of your mind, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Frickin' Marco, he's so extreme. He's either, like, extremely lighthearted or extremely dark.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, it's like Whiplash.
So, they're like, to get the parts, we need to go to Radioshack.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! Good luck with that, guys. They all closed down.
Radioshack. Since when has Radioshack had anything useful?
Well, that's why they closed down. They couldn't stay in business anymore.
Yeah, like, every time I went to Radioshack to find something, they never had it.
What did you get at Radioshack?
I don't know, I was looking for, like, a headphone adapter or something, and they're like, oh, we don't have that. I'm like, I can get that at fucking Target. Aren't you supposed to be, like, specialists? What is this? I was so perpetually disappointed by Radioshack.
Yeah, they really should have had that part. That doesn't... Oh, well.
Anyway, I have opinions about Radioshack. But they don't exist anymore, so it's...
Yeah, they went out of business. So, they come up with this insane plan where they're like, Axe is going to morph his human mix morph that he got from the 4 kids, and he's going to take the bus with them, go to the mall. They're, like, planning this out, like, the bus ride's, like, 40 minutes. We get to the mall. Takes us half an hour. Yeah.
Why didn't they just morph birds and fly over there? Why do they always have to take the bus? Like, you can morph multiple animals in a day now. Just morph a bird. Ah.
I wrote maybe they should have gotten a taxi for $5. Which is a reference to the TV show where Axe does just that on a day that he borrows Jake's jacket and decides to go on a human adventure by himself and finds $10 in the pocket.
Oh my God.
I really, for like the one episode of the TV show we've seen, I'm getting a lot of mileage out of this.
Yeah. It was a good episode.
It was a great episode. I'm glad I showed it to you. So, they get him dressed, and they ask him to please stop playing with sounds, which is one of my favorite Axisms, I guess, I'm gonna call it. Where he just, like, he doesn't have a mouth and he's not used to it, so he just plays with every single thing that he's talking about. So he's like, sounds, owns, owns. I love it.
He's like a human reverb.
He is. He is like a human reverb. And I also love that anytime he says, like, a word that has, like, any sort of, like, zzz or brr in it, he's like, oh my god, this is amazing. Did you hear what I just did? So anyways.
He's a precious baby. And I love
He's
him.
a precious baby. I love him, too. I really adore Axe. So, I love them all. So I get him dressed and tell him to take his shoes out of his pockets and put them on his feet, which is apparently confusing to him. And they head to the mall. Apparently the bus ride was uneventful, but the minute they get to the mall, they lose him. And they're talking about the mall being insanely crowded. This was obviously before online shopping was a thing. And there's, like, old people and people with children at the mall and teenagers trying to look cool, and it's just wall-to-wall people. And they lose him, and they turn around, see him on the escalator, and they take off after him. And Marco has another one of those moments of, like, you see them start to, like, get a grip on security and stuff. He's like, don't run, they'll think we swipe something. Walk.
So Marco really showed off his analyst, like, strategist skills in this book. Like, just little things like that. Like, he really has a good grasp of how suspicious they look versus, you know, how to act naturally. Like, he's got fucking street smarts, like, about that.
He does. And he has, like, the street smarts. He also has computer smarts. Like, he's the total package of intelligent person.
Oh, yeah, he was doing, like, math all
Oh,
over
yeah.
the damn place.
He was, when they were talking about how far Axe was, and he was, like, calculating out light speed to, like, crazy. He lost me. I'm not good at math.
Oh, yeah, I immediately reject math when it enters my brain area.
But not Marco.
Yeah. Anyway, and then they find Axe at Starbucks, the coffee place, as Jake proceeds to mention. And I was like, oh, this is another meds. That's what we call medicine moment. I was like, thanks, we didn't know that Starbucks was the coffee place.
Yeah. Back in the 90s when it wasn't too big. Although, what I love about this is that he gets a double latte, and it was only $2.95.
Oh, wow.
I know. And she got the 95 cents part of it right. So I was like, damn, she's paying attention.
And he drank the coffee, and he loved it. Which I'm like, I don't think kids generally like the taste of coffee. So that's pretty cool.
But he didn't even know what taste was before this moment. Like, it's just novel to him. Like, I don't even think he knows a lot of the time whether he likes or doesn't like things. He just knows there's a sensation on his tongue, and it's so novel. I don't know. And then he freaks out about the lid, too. Because he puts the lid on it, and he's like, Jake's like, you gotta drink out of the hole. And he's like, so simple, yet so effective. And I'm like, they didn't even show him the little green sticks that you put in there so that when you're driving around in your car, you don't spill coffee everywhere.
Did they have those in the 90s?
I don't know that I went to Starbucks in the 90s. I was a little young.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't like coffee. Yeah, I was a little young. I mean, I feel like they had to have them. I can tell you, between 99 and 2000 they had them, because that was when I would get coffee for my mom all the time in Starbucks, and I'd run in and grab her order, and then I would grab the little green sticks because we were driving. So I can tell you that year they did, but like mid-90s, I don't know. When were the Starbucks green stick things for the lid invented?
Look that up, audience.
Look that up. Oh man, that's we do have the one fact checker that was on Facebook that fact checked us immediately.
Yes, thank you for that.
So yes, seriously, thank you. I can't remember your name because it's not in front of me right now. I think it was like Hannah or something. I don't know. I'm making guesses, but thank you. Yes. Fact check this now for us. When were the green sticks invented?
Please help us. We're lazy.
Yeah, right. We can't use Google ourselves, so can you do it for us? No. Anyways, they make it to the Radioshack, and they have every single part except the Z-Space transponder. Of course. They don't sell it at Radioshack. Of course, Radioshack.
Of course, Radioshack. Persistently disappointed.
Yeah, seriously. Just because it wasn't invented yet doesn't mean you shouldn't carry it.
Yes. And then my favorite part happens, which is Axe finishes his coffee, and then he's like, "What, do I have to carry this around with me?" And Marco says, "No, just throw it away." So Axe literally throws it. I just had a flashback. Do you remember in Thor, the movie, where he like drinks the coffee and he's like, "I like this drink," and then he slams the glass on the ground and says, "Another!" Like, it was completely... Yeah, it was completely that moment for me. I was dying laughing.
Oh, that's awesome. I totally got caught up in the fact that he hit the salesperson in the head.
Yeah.
That was the funniest part for me.
Yes. It was amazing.
Yeah, the whole thing was amazing. And then it leads into the next part, which is one of my favorite parts, which is, I'm sure, one of your favorite parts too, where he makes it into the food court in the mall, and he's like, he's saying to Marco, like, "Oh, I have this theory that, like, taste and smell are connected." Marco's like, "Yeah, that's not really a theory." And then he's like, takes off. And so they're trying to buy the parts and chase after him. He gets in the food court and he's eating, like, pieces of pizza and cinnamon buns. And when he does finally get the cinnamon bun, he's like, "This is it! This is the smell!" And Marco's like, "Well, they do make a good sticky bun." So I loved that part. And of course, like, anytime a teenager, sub-teen, is in the mall food court doing shady things, mall cops are nearby. I can tell you.
Did you just call him a sub-teen?
Yeah, isn't that what do you call them? Preteens?
Yeah,
preteens.
Like a tweenager.
Sub-teens, preteens, that's what I meant.
Sub-teens, I like that. I'm going to start calling, like, 13-year-olds sub-teens.
Perfect. You heard it here
Get off
first.
my lawn, sub-teens!
A sub-teen photo shoot.
Oh my
Oh, man. Yeah, I did call him a sub-team. What I meant was preteen.
Yes.
My bad.
So they get chased by cops.
They do. They get chased by cops. And so Axe just freaks out and starts demorphing as he's running away. And Jake and Marco are kind of like running with the cops after him while Axe is out front. And his legs are like sliding because they're reversing and changing and growing out of him. And like he's just skidding on the linoleum, I assume, floor. And not having a great time. And I can tell you for any animal with hooves that linoleum floor is basically just like a sheet of ice. Like there's no traction at all for them.
Yeah,
So,
I saw a video of a deer that had accidentally gotten into a building and it's like sliding all over the damn place, like slamming into walls and stuff. It was okay though. So, luckily.
Yeah, it is really, it's not great.
It's
That's
like
why
that
whenever
scene
you
in
see,
Bambi.
oh god, on the pond. But yeah, that's why when
Yeah.
you see little like mini ponies that lead around blind people, they have those tiny tennis shoes on their feet.
Oh, little Sebastian.
Yeah, little Sebastian. Oh. Aw. Well, Axe is not as adorable as that because his tail ends up coming out and it's got a long scythe-like blade on it. I'm really trying to throw in the Andalite descriptions here. Sorry. I'm trying to be more thorough. So Axe's tail comes out, and that's when a cop recognizes him as an Andalite. Apparently the rest of the body was not familiar enough, but once the tail is there, he's like, yes, I recognize that alien. And so they try to shoot him, and Axe, this is the first time that, like, Axe spills human blood that's, like, very, I think, kind of called out in this way, and he just basically, like, whips his tail blade behind him, and takes this guy's gun out of his hand, and what we can assume is a few fingers, because there's a trail of blood as well.
Oh, damn. I just thought he, like, cut his hand, like, the palm of his hand, but I didn't think about the finger thing. Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, because it would be on the trigger, and so if he hit anything, it would be his finger, and he would just, yeah.
Oh, man, I didn't even think about that. Oh.
Yeah.
Good job, Axe.
Yep. Axe really does. He spends a lot of time taking off hands and fingers. Like, there's just gotta be, like, a wake of controllers with, like, stump arms. And this is not funny. I'm not gonna continue on this stream.
That was my squeezing arm. They took my squeezing arm! Anyway. That's an obscure reference.
That was an obscure reference. Anyways, they run out of the mall, across the parking lot, and they're kind of pulling ahead of the cops now because of this whole ruckus with chopping his hand off. And so it's just these guys, like the two sub-teen boys and an alien running across the street. And they run into a supermarket, and as they come in there, they're knocking shelves over. Apparently cans are rolling around behind them. And Marco just starts screaming, "There's a bomb! There's a bomb!" and tries to get people out of the store that way. And that seemed like something that you probably wouldn't want to say nowadays.
Well, no, and I remember in school, they told us that if you're running away from someone and you're trying to get attention, you have to yell, "Fire, fire."
I feel like that's for kidnappings, though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because I think, and I could be wrong, that what happens is when you yell fire, people are more apt to run towards you instead of when you yell help. And so if somebody's grabbed you and you can scream, you should start yelling fire, fire, so people run towards it.
Oh.
I think.
Makes sense.
What we'll
to me.
do, we'll set up a test where we both get kidnapped, and I'll try one way and you try the
Okay.
other. And we'll see what happens.
This sounds completely safe.
And like we have a really good scientific base for this. We have a good control.
Kaycie and Alex, the science corner.
Well, at least we're doing science, right?
Weren't we talking about, like, taking out little kids and knocking them unconscious to see how quickly they come to last week?
I believe we were, and then I believe before that we were also talking about setting up a fight between wolves and dogs to see at what point we could break them apart based on their species.
We're monsters! Holy shit.
Animorphs has turned us into something else.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Anyway, speaking of horrifying things.
And turning into something else.
Yes.
So they see a lobster tank in this store, and they're like, we have a plan, guys. They're gonna morph lobsters and hang out in the tank until they think everything's clear. So they grab the lobsters, throw one to Axe, he starts morphing, they haul him into the tank when he gets small enough, and then they start morphing. And they just start hanging out in the tank. They can't really see anything. This morph is, like, probably one of my favorite early descriptions, because it's just like, oh my god, everything's horrifying, and this is the first time that I've been only an exoskeleton with no bones whatsoever.
Yeah.
And, it's not great. And then within an hour, they get bought, which, that's like a really short amount of time to clean up this whole mess, right?
I was thinking that too. Especially if someone's yelling about a bomb, like, you know.
Right.
Like,
You
we got a
gotta close
bomb
down
threat
the
in our
store.
school once, and it took, like, a while for them to deem it safe and bring everybody back in.
Yeah, you gotta lock down the school for, like, the whole day.
Right.
Ugh. Yeah, I thought the exact same thing. And then the other part of me just imagined this really, like, pushy, like, soccer mom with, like, you know, that haircut that's like, let me see your manager coming in.
Oh
like,
my God.
I don't care if there's a bomb. I need my lobsters. So, like, I had two versions of this in my head.
Oh my god. Those women actually exist, though. I found one in the grocery store next to my house earlier.
We found
year.
one in Starbucks, you know, the coffee shop in college. It was horrifying. So this woman came into the Starbucks, and she's like, I can't even remember her order precisely, but it was like, I need like an iced latte, but I need the ice in one cup, the coffee in another cup, and the creamer in a third cup that's smaller. I need a mug that's empty, and then I need a bagel, and I need a cream cheese and a knife, but it has to be a real knife, and I need it on the side. It cannot touch the plate. And we're like, what is this woman talking about? And like, they had to redo it too, like 4 times. She would not let them get it wrong.
She was relentless.
And by the time we got to the counter, we're like, we just want smoothies. Let us go.
Oh my god. That was amazing.
So yeah,
yes,
basically
they do
that
exist.
woman.
Yeah.
do exist.
She needed her lobsters.
She did. She did need her lobsters. Their description of this is that they get put on something sloshy and like kind of wet, and Marco goes, oh, ice, and then they just kind of zone out for a while. And the reason they kind of come to is that Axe goes, there's only 7 minutes left in this morph. And they're all like, oh no matter what, we've got to demorph right now. And so Marco starts demorphing, and it's right as he's being grabbed out of the ice. And he says he can like feel the steam billowing up around him. And through some crazy chance, the first thing that morphs is his mouth. And he's screaming, no, in a tiny lobster voice.
Oh my god.
It kills me every time. I love it so much.
Jesus.
I know. And he does like some ninja move where like as he's going into the pot, he like grabs the side of it, and he says through like sheer panic of death, he is able to flip himself out of the pot and go scurrying away. And as he's scurrying away, he's demorphing, so by the time he hits the floor, he's like a toddler-sized lobster human. And then, like, of course, Axe is demorphing, and the woman basically just is screaming this whole time. Like, she's like, she just can't stop screaming at this horrifying sight in front of her. And so as they end up demorphing, they're like, this is a dream. You're dreaming this. You are not awake. And she's kind of like, oh, okay. And it's another one of those, like, they basically promise her, like, make her promise not to tell. They then tell her to free the other lobsters and make a quick exit.
They need that thing for Men in Black.
Yes, they do.
You know the thing I'm talking about?
Yep, where they just
eraser?
Flash the, the memory eraser.
Yeah, because in the last, like, couple of hours, they've exposed themselves to, like, countless amounts of people.
Yeah.
And, I'm guessing that's going to be a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal for Axe. Like, Axe can morph in front of people because the whole ruse they're trying to keep up is that they're Andalite bandits. So it's like,
right.
The more Axe morphs, fine. It's just the kids every time they morph, that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they do a lot of tricky stuff with morphing. That's, some of it's really smart, some of it's really dumb. But early on, it's this really dumb stuff that it just, my heart is pounding because I'm like, they could make her a controller, and even if she doesn't tell a single person, if she's a controller, you're screwed.
Yeah, because she saw your faces.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So, after they exit, it cuts to Marco, who's having a nightmare, and his dad wakes him up, and the first thing Marco says is, Mom.
Oh.
And I know. And they have
Ouch.
this moment together of, like, he said something like, are you dreaming about her? And Marco was like, no, it wouldn't be a nightmare if I was having a dream about her.
Oh.
God, Marco. It was really funny a minute ago when you were a lobster screaming through your tiny lips. God, why does he have to do this to us? But I did make a note here. This is actually another part of the story that I adore, is that we have these 5 characters that are 6 characters now that they have these insane challenges. Some of them have these insane challenges on the back end. Like, you know, Marco's dealing with the death of his mom and how his dad's dealing with it, and he has all this responsibility. Tobias comes from a horrible household. But then you have, like, Jake and Rachel, who come from a great house. Like, you know, just a middle-class, nice family. And then there's Cassie, who, like, comes from, like, this family that doesn't have any of, like, the dysfunction that even Rachel and Jake have. Like, you know, Rachel's parents are divorced, and that's her thing. And Jake's parents are seemingly fine, but his older brother's a yerk. And then Cassie comes from this wonderful family, but, like, they're, you know, they're not around a lot because they're working all the time. So it's, like, it gives you these pieces to grasp onto and say, oh, that's like me. That's like my life. That happened to me too. And it could be minor, or it could be, like, the other end of the spectrum, like Marco, with his mom dying and his dad being basically, you know, just not there mentally. So, yeah, I just had to write down how much I loved that.
Yeah, I just wrote Marco's dad equals a picture of a broken heart.
Aww.
In my notes. I drew a little broken heart. I was like, oh no.
It's really sad. And I always pictured him, I think I've said this before, like in an earlier episode, but I always pictured Marco's dad looking like Maurice from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
I don't know why. And that just makes it, like, even, like, more emotional for me, because I'm like, poor old Maurice. And it's probably not at all. Maurice. Crazy old Maurice.
No. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yep. So, they have a lot to deal with. Every character, and some, like Rachel, it's like, my parents are divorced, I don't care. Jake, you know, his biggest thing is his older brother. Cassie loves her family, but that causes other issues with, like, if they get caught, I will never be able to do anything, and, you know, it goes on. So, the next day, they have a useless distress beacon because they don't have the Z-Space transponder. So, that's really fun for them, and Jake and Marco and Axe are all kind of still dealing with, like, the earlier days episode. And Marco's kind of talking like, oh, Jake and Cassie have this moment that pisses me off, and then, not pisses him off, but makes him jealous. And then Tobias mentions something like, you know, you're clear from campers, but there's an eagle. And he does this other, like, flip where he's like, man, Tobias's life is really hard. It's like, I spent all of Tobias's books going, wow, Marco's a real asshole. And Marco's really kind of like, yeah, Tobias, it scares me. But, like, he's kind of worried about it. It's kind of sweet, almost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought it was funny because it's more of that, I think each book is written differently enough that you feel like it's a completely different person. So, there we go.
Yeah. I made a note about that, I think, later on. Like, it's interesting to me what kind of things are brought up, because, like, I noticed particularly in this book, Marco brings up the whole, like, Jake and Cassie thing a lot, which I felt went kind of unnoticed in some of the other books, but, like, Marco would be especially perceptive to that because Jake is his best friend. So I think that's a really a mark of a strong writer, that to kind of, like, bring the focus into different things that may seem kind of incidental, but, like, depending on what character's viewpoint you're seeing it from, like, it's I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're trying to say, and that was, like, later on when they got ghostwriters, I always thought, like, man, if there's a series you're gonna get ghostwriters on, this one's perfect for it, because you can just literally be like, yo, you're assigned to this character, you're assigned to this character, now go write the books from your own perspective. Like, you know, that I thought that would, like, this is just the perfect series to do that on. And I know that's not what they did, that's not how it was handled. Like, I looked into it a little bit the other day, like, just to see who wrote what, and that doesn't seem to be what happened, but I don't know, it's a genius move. But yeah, just the fact that she could do it by herself it's incredible. So,
yeah.
Yep. I was fangirling over that.
Yay!
So Marco, ever the genius, brings up that if Chapman can communicate with the Yeerks, he must have a Z-space transponder. And everyone's like, duh. Why didn't we see that? And it's because Marco's real smart. And on the entire opposite end of the spectrum is Cassie, who then says if they're going to go back into Chapman's house, they should morph ants. Did you think this was the ant book when we started?
Yeah, as soon as she said that, well, no, actually, I thought the ants were much later. I thought they were in, like, book 13 or 14, but that might be the termites, actually. But, yeah, as soon as she said ants, I was like, oh, no! I remember the ants from the limited knowledge I have of these books. Oh my god.
Yep. The last read through I did before we started this, I had the same reaction. I'm like, wow, the ant book was book 5? I thought it was way later. But no, this is the ant book. Yep.
Gross.
Yeah, so gross. Ugh. But anyways, so Rachel she vetoed anything that might get Melissa made into a controller. So the plan that Cassie proposes is that they turn into ants and they burrow into the basement, and there's no turning into Fluffer McNutter Kitty, whatever. Yes. And there's no putting Melissa Chapman in harm's way. So that's the plan. And the next day at school, Marco is like, I've failed the test, everything's shitty, this ant plan is stupid. And Jake comes by his locker and is kind of like, hey, we're doing black ants. And I was like, well, that was a weird conversation. And Marco's like, I don't want to be an ant. And Jake's like, well, a flea was no big thing. Like, I don't know why Jake has this weird swagger this morning when he's telling Marco about ants. But Marco's like, he has like a mysterious smile. And he's kind of like peppy and like, you know, flea was no big thing. But he can tell that Jake's really like horrified deep down. And then Marco's retaliation to this is to say to Jake, like, you know, this weekend is 2 years to the day that mom died. And that kind of stops him, I think, a little bit. I think this is part of why Jake's acting so weird, because he knows the anniversary is coming up, and Marco wasn't going to bring it up, but I think Jake has that knowledge, and Jake's trying to be sensitive to that. A little. Yeah. But at the same time, they're trying to save the world, so how sensitive can you really be to an anniversary of a death? Because you could die any moment. Every day could be a death anniversary.
Right.
Oh, sorry, that went really dark.
Well, and then Marco is like, you know, this 2-year anniversary is coming up, and I don't want my dad to have to visit 2 graves, you know? So,
yeah,
like,
and it's that of, like, Marco's like, I don't want my dad to visit 2 graves, but the same argument convinces him to join in this plot, because he goes, so what are Axe's parents feeling then? If this is what my dad would feel, what about Axe's parents? And that's what convinces him to join in the stupid ant plan.
Yeah.
Ugh, the ant plan. Ugh. So anyways, Marco sees Cassie in the hallway and is basically like, he's had this internal dialogue of like, I don't want my dad to visit 2 graves, but I also don't want Axe's parents to sit wondering what happened to their son forever, knowing their other son's already been killed. They don't know that. We know that. But he's like, I can't. He's like, I gotta help out. So he says to Cassie, I'll do it. Pass the message to Jake. I'll do it. So they cut to next to Chapman's house, where there's conveniently a house that's for sale.
So I was confused about that. Because they make to mention that the neighbors had moved out already. Yeah. But that their house was for sale. Like, I just wondered how often that happens, where you move out of your house and then put it up for sale. Is that common? It's probably not relevant. Well,
no, because this was before the housing crisis, right? Like, this was before the bubble popped.
Oh.
So people could do that, I think. I believe
History.
This was before then. Yeah,
Oh.
history. Exactly. It's like another one of those weird data things. Like, we had to be told Starbucks, the coffee shop, like, we wouldn't, like, who could have predicted that now it's like they're literally across the street from each other. There's dueling Starbucks. And, God. Yeah, I think this was before the housing crisis. And, like, it could be any number of things. Maybe they got foreclosed on and it's owned by the bank now, or maybe they really just had the money to move into a new house. And because, like, I know some people, when they get moved for work, they just have to move and then their house is sold when they're gone.
Sure.
I don't know. You're really stretching my realtor knowledge. Although I do know a realtor. Do you want me to throw, much like the CPA thing when we went into the tax return of the Animorphs.
Right.
we could go into the real estate business too.
Yeah, why not? Let's be thorough about this shit.
Sure. I'll ask. I'll go ahead and ask how common that is. Why not? And I'm sure it'll depend too. Like, I know one realtor that works in Chicago, and she's probably like, you know, people get kicked out of their houses all the time. In fact, that did happen a couple years ago. And we went into the house. I don't know why we were there. There was some custom cabinetry or something that we were looking at. And they had just abandoned the house. And they literally left, like, belongings everywhere. Like, they left dirty dishes in the dishwasher. And, like, they also did things like they left cigarette butts in the sink and things. Like, weird stuff on top of the normal, like, we just got out of here as fast as possible.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. It can happen. But then my other friend who's a realtor for rich people, she's probably like, they just move out whenever. This was just the summer home.
This is our second house.
This is our second house. We had no problems leaving it for our third.
Jeez.
Anyways.
Well, in any case, they're in the house. They're getting ready to head on into Chapman's house. I wrote, this is my note, take a drink every time Tobias has to do a scouting mission in the dark. Because I'm still, like, overtly bitter about that.
Yeah, but this is some of the retcon on his vision. He brings up, my eyes aren't much better than yours at night. And if we're being real honest, Tobias, and he's already kind of got, like, a weird thing going on with his eyesight, like, oh, it's so superior, like, so he probably doesn't want to admit, he can't see anything at all.
Yep.
Like, his eyes are really bad at night, so he's starting to mention it.
Okay.
Book 5, we're starting to retcon a little at book 5. Yep. So they morph into ants, and it's terrifying and horrifying.
Can I just preface this? That I was terrified of ants in preschool. I recall being curled up on a bench outside, sobbing because there were ants on the ground, and I was just absolutely terrified of them. And I think I was completely justified, because this shit is fucked up.
Oh, you were totally was it because of this book, or was it like a different reason you were terrified of ants?
I mean, it was a different reason. I was like 5, but I don't know, I just didn't like them crawling on the ground, and they could crawl up onto my body, and I just didn't like it. You know, I've never been a huge fan of bugs. I've gotten over that somewhat. But for some reason, as a kid, I was terrified of ants. And, so when I was reading about them turning into ants, I was like, ha! I knew I had a right to be scared. Little fuckers.
Yeah. I was terrified of beetles because of the Mummy.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can relate to this just being, like, horrified. But also, like, whenever you'd sit on the ground, it would be like that thing, like, ooh, are they crawling on me? I swear I feel like a twitch. Like, oh. I remember that.
And then they usually were.
Yeah, they usually were. Yeah.
And then they like take over your house. Like, you'll come home and there'll be a bunch of ants swarming all over, like, your cat food. And I'm just like, really? You little shits? Stay outside.
And isn't it an ant, like a type of ant that has the most painful bite of any insect in the animal kingdom?
Yeah, I've heard that. And, like, fire ants are the main reason I will not move to Texas ever in my life. Sorry, no offense to people who live in Texas and actually have to deal with the fire ants, but holy shit, no thank you. Yeah. I mean, like,
yeah.
From a scientific standpoint, ants are pretty amazing. Like, they can do some really crazy shit. And, like, they can, like, form like rafts out of their bodies and like float on rivers. So that's what they were doing during one of the hurricanes that hit Texas. Like, I've seen videos of that, and like they can build crazy shit and they can eat things whole, but holy shit.
Yeah, no. We're not doing ants.
No, never.
No.
Can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not an ant person. I mean, I never, like, burn them with microscopes or anything, or microscopes with magnifying glasses, but I'm not an ant person. And there's very few things, like, I love spiders. I love a lot of insects. Even my, like, weird creepy crawlies in my basement. I'm like, oh, don't hurt those guys. We like them. But ants and silverfish, not cool.
No.
Yeah. And I didn't even know what silverfish were until you introduced me to them, so thank you
really?
for that. Yes,
Oh,
I had no clue until you pointed one out to me in the common area at college, and I was like, well, this is going to be my nightmares forever now.
Oh, God. I can't do earwigs. Earwigs are nasty.
They don't bother me that much.
Oh, but they look so solid, and then they kind of, like, curl their bodies up a little. Oh, my God. No. Oh, God, I'm getting sick just thinking about it.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on
this is going to get better.
To them describing how horrifying it is to be an ant and to lose all sense of your individuality and oh my God.
Oh, but even before that, when they're talking about, like, their bodies, like, Cassie's body pinching in the middle and then her, like, butt growing to the size of a watermelon, like, this morph is horrifying from start to finish.
Yeah.
Just not good. And then, once they're there, and like they said, their skin just like turns black and crisps, like they were suddenly burnt by a fire. And once the animal mind kicks in, there's, as you said, zero sense of self. They are mindless minions, and they cannot control this morph at all. They just start going after this dead beetle, and Marcos, he keeps pointing out that there's like enemies are nearby, and that just makes this whole thing so much creepier to me. Like, reading it, I like, it might be because I knew it was going to come next, so I started getting those, like, ooh, God, this is going to be bad, but it just, it's creepy. So, the Tobias is, like, screaming at them, like, get control, morph out, just stop this, like, oh my God. And the first one to get control is Marco, who just screams, and he goes, later, Tobias said I scared the crap out of him.
Oh.
Yeah. And, like, one by one, they're able to kind of snap out of it. And even Axe, who is, at this point, we know him as, like, trying to follow the Andalite honor code and being very stoic and composed at all times. Even he is like, what is this morph? This is horrible. Why? Why is this a thing on your planet?
Right.
It's like, well, we can't answer for that, Axe, because evolution, it's not our faults. So, they do come out of it, and they kind of have this argument where they're like, morph out immediately. We don't have to do this. And then they're like, you know what? We have everything set up right now. We're already ants. Let's just do this. Mm-hmm. And so they do. They start going across the lawn, and they make it into the tunnel system in the next yard over, which is the Chapmans. And they make it into the basement with the only issue they have, they run into one ant. Rachel's leading the way, and she runs into him, and the ant scurries off, and it scared her, but she's like, okay, we're in the tunnels, and then we can sense some air. So Cassie's like, go that way. They make it into Chapman's basement, and Marco volunteers for once to be the first to demorph because he was so horrified. Right. So he demorphs. They flick the lights to let the others know it's safe to demorph, and then we get like some really cool insight into like Andalite and like their spying on the Yeerks, which I thought was really cool. So they go into his basement, they find the mini computer, which Marco's kind of looking around for like whatever it is that it's going to be, and he finds what he thinks is Axe finds it, and it's what Marco thought was a paperweight, but it's really a computer. And there's this funny moment where, like, he brings up the nav, and Marco starts clicking through folders, and Axe is like, you know how to use a computer? And Marco's like, yeah, it's just advanced, but it's still a computer. And then they see a notice that says, Visor 1's in town. And we also find out there's 47 visors.
Why 47?
I don't know. when I was telling you earlier, I thought it went through the hundreds, so I don't know why I thought that from a different book. But I don't know why there's only 47 now.
You'd think there would be a nice round number, or like
50.
Yeah, or a significant number, like 42. Or...
yeah, but there's not. There's 47.
Alright.
Yeah. Who could? And plus, this is just the Andalite, what they think. Like, there could be way more.
Oh yeah, their intel could be...
Their intel could be
off.
bad. Yeah, and I don't know. We'll have to get to a different book to get more sure of this.
Cool.
Yep. So they see the announcement that there is going to be Visor 1 in town, so they kind of bring that up. Axe reads it off of one of the notices, and then they grab the transponder out of it, and they start to take it back. And the ants, they put it by, like, the crack in the wall where they climbed in. They morph back to ants, and they're like, how are we going to carry this thing? And it turns out with all of them there moving it, they can carry it. And then when they're in the tunnels, they send some out front to clear rocks away, and then the others pushing from behind. And they're, like, getting through this tunnel with this thing. Everything's going swimmingly. And then suddenly there's ants everywhere, attacking them from every angle.
Like, tearing their limbs off, and biting them and stinging them, and it's just, oh my god.
Yeah, and trying to pincer them in half. That's Marco said they were trying to hold him down so they could tear him in half.
Yikes.
Yeah, so their plan here is just demorph, which, solid call, guys. So they just start demorphing in the ground, and Marco said, like, there's a ton of pressure on him, and then I just kind of let go, and he said he felt like he was coming out of some sort of, like, different, like, buried in the ground, like a zombie apocalypse movie. Like, his hand comes out the top, and then finally the rest of him comes up, and I liked that description.
I'm very glad that the dirt was soft enough that they could do that, and that it wasn't, like, limestone or some shit.
Oh, God.
You know? That was very, very fortunate.
It could have gone very badly for them.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Anyway,
so luckily,
that whole thing was emotionally scarring.
Yeah. And luckily they made it out of there, but, you know, that's not great. And then as they're morphing back to humans, like once they're kind of back and taking a breather, Rachel starts stomping the ground to make it level. And then Marco does slip up and says, once Rachel stops stomping the ants, I mean the ground.
Right.
Yeah. And then this is the part that even when all of this has kind of like faded away and I kind of forget like how bad this attack was, the part that sticks with me is that when Marco was showering later that night, he finds an ant head still attached to his side.
That's so fucked up!
Yeah! That's all of our horrifying nightmares right there.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
God, I feel like K.A. Applegate had to go to some really dark places to write some of this. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, you were around for when we recorded book 3, right?
Yeah!
Yeah.
These are 12-year-old kids!
Oh my God. They're children. But the fact that they're children, I think, is what makes them resilient to some of this.
Yep.
Because,
and then, like, the next day at school, Marco addresses at some point, he's like, okay, everybody was totally freaked out by that situation. Like, you can see it on everyone's face. Like, we're gonna need serious frickin' therapy before this thing is over. Like, he addresses openly that one of them is gonna snap and go absolutely insane. And we're in book 5, and, oh man.
Yeah, they have a long way to go. And,
yeah.
And they do break. Every part of this is them breaking. Like, every book we get to, even when you read the first book, I think I said at some point during that Jake was my favorite Jake at that point because he hadn't been broken even a little bit yet. And on his first mission, he gets Tobias stuck. I mean, he didn't do it, but, like, he thinks that he got Tobias stuck as a hawk. He thinks it's his fault as the leader. Like, every book is about breaking them just a little more, and finding out how far they can go to save everyone. Like, how much can you break somebody to save the rest of the world?
Yeah.
And Marco kind of brings it home for us here, too, talking about his dad. He's like, that's what it took for my dad to snap. Like, what's it going to take for me? My dad snapped because my mom died. And now he's, like, not the same person he was before. Yeah. Woo! So they're mechanical the next day, as you said, at school. They're very morose and quiet. So Marco ends up sitting near Rachel just by happenstance. And Rachel's mechanically eating when this girl named Jessica, who's described as a kind of girl that would go looking for a fight, runs into Rachel. And Rachel just goes berserk and grabs her and pushes her onto a lunchroom table. There's plates and food flying and just starts threatening her. And Marco looks around, sees he's the closest one to the chaos, and so he jumps in the middle to intervene, and he gets punched in the face by Jessica. And since there's this
he should have just thrown a blanket over her.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh, my
So,
God.
because they're starting to fight in the cafeteria, they're taken to see Chapman. And for some reason, Chapman just goes after Rachel. Like, it's probably, like, reading this with the adult lens on it, it's probably because he knew Rachel. So he had personal investment in her, whereas Jessica and Marco, he doesn't personally know. So it's like, you know, who cares? And so he starts going after Rachel, and he says she has this really dangerous look in her eye, like she might just, like, blurt out, because you're a controller and I broke into your house, or something like that. So Marco goes, it's my fault. It was all my fault. They're fighting over me, because they both love me.
God
They both
damn
wanted
it,
to get
Marco.
with me.
God damn it, Marco. Oh.
It's like...
I was like, really?
I mean, this is Marco right here. 30 seconds ago, we were talking about how freaking horrific it was and how each one of these characters is going to break forever, and now it's like, they're fighting over me because they love me.
Oh my God.
I love Marco so much.
God.
Yeah, and so that's when Rachel kind of starts, like, laughing a little bit. He can tell that he's gotten Rachel kind of out of her funk. Meanwhile, Jessica's like, you little toad, I would never like you, blah, blah, blah. So,
Gross, boys have cooties.
Yeah, I don't want your cuties. Yep. And this is that camaraderie again that I know I keep harping on the same notes in every recording, but like Rachel's like, don't stop joking, Marco, we need it. As they're walking away, she's like, don't ever stop doing this, don't ever stop being like this. And it's like, all these kids are like talking about how like, oh, we're not that close, or like, yeah, Rachel's Jake's cousin, or she's a babe but she's totally psycho, but like they are willing to go to bat for each other every time. And it's just great. I mean, it's some of the parts are, it's just such a good team. I just love it so much. Like, you have to have that chemistry to make a good team, and these kids just have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just get excited about that. So Rachel says, don't ever stop joking, because otherwise they'll all go psycho. So, yay, go Marco.
Yay. Diffusing the situation.
Mm-hmm. So kids meet up with Axe the next day, who has this distress beacon ready to go. And they're deciding on where to do it because they are already, again, contingency plans. If this plan doesn't go according to how we've planned it, which I think they learned after the whole getting stuck in the reservoir thing. If it doesn't go to plan, what can we do? And so they're making sure it's far away from like where they can keep Axe and where their families are and where, you know, why would it be at Cassie's farm and all that sort of stuff. So awesome. Tobias knows of a quarry. Cool. And then Axe is going to get a Northern Harrier, which is awesome.
Yay.
Yay! And this leads to, you know, we're having kind of a fun, lighthearted, like, oh, it's all ready to go, yay! And Jake and Marco walk out together, and they're joking, and they're having a good time, and arguing about Batman versus Superman, and all that great stuff. And then Jake goes, okay, so what's up, for real? And Marco immediately just goes, all right, after today, I'm out. This is my last mission. I'm done. And Jake goes, all right. It's like, again, Jake's grown as a leader so much. Like, it's this moment where he's like, all right, if you're out, you're out. You know, Marco's like, I can't have my dad visiting two graves. And Jake's like, you can't. And Marco's like, I feel like I've done enough. And Jake's like, you've done more than enough. You've done 1,000 times more than enough. And it's, I just love this interaction.
Yeah, it's really mature for 12-year-olds to have, like, a discussion like that.
Yeah, and I think Marco already, he's already super mature because he's had to deal with a lot, but, like, seeing Jake take up that mantle as well is really cool.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm excited. And then, after having this extremely depressing moment, we cut back to them flying and having fun, and Marco talking about how he's gonna miss it. Because when he's out, he is fully out. And I just want to throw in a little note here that is something that comes up, like a kind of theme that comes up again. When you're in, you're fully in. When you're out, you're fully out. And I like that all or nothing mentality. And my inner Rachel comes out. All or nothing. You're good or you're bad. Oh. But yeah, so they're flying around. They're having kind of a fun moment where Axe is going, my eyes are amazing. This is great. And Tobias is like, yeah, mine are a little better than yours. And Axe is like, I don't see how that's possible. So that's fun. And that's all the fun we'll be having today.
Yep. One lighthearted moment in a pit of despair.
Yep, pretty much. So they're take it, Kaycie.
So they reach the quarry, and they demorph, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna sit here and do the distress beacon thing, and then we're gonna just, like, morph into our battle morphs and just wait to ambush them. And I was really excited, because this is the first time we see Cassie's battle morph. So, like, Jake does a tiger, Marco's a gorilla, Rachel's the elephant, of course, and Cassie does her wolf morph, and you know, me, who has discussed a wolf as a good battle morph option, I was kind of like, yeah, boy! So, I was a little geeked about that.
That leads in nicely to my question for you here. What do you think Cassie's original battle morph was that she got from the zoo?
Oh, right. Oh god, I don't know. Wait, do we find out later?
No. Wolf is her battle morph. That's it.
Oh, really?
It's pure speculation on our part.
Oh my god. That's a good question.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking you.
Anteater. Anteater. Because fuck ants!
Because fuck ants. Alright.
No. I actually don't know, but I like anteaters. And I was just thinking about them.
Who doesn't?
And how great they are.
How great they are. See, it's never brought up, and, like, there's never a moment that she has a morph that, like, oh yeah, this is in my repertoire, but from a long time ago. Like, there's never a moment like that, but I feel like she would do something like Porcupine. I don't know either.
That's interesting that they never bring that up.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And the other thing about Cassie is that I feel like if I were Cassie, I would want all the morphs. Because I would want to be in all the animal minds, you know? Like, if you're that much of an enthusiast about animals, like, think of everything you could learn.
Yeah,
and I would just, like, go through and touch all the animals.
How would that work with her, though? Because she's so, like, what if they're too intelligent? Like, where would she draw the line as she collected morphs?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
But that was, like, specifically dolphins, right?
Well, it was, and dolphins and whales, and they granted her permission, basically, is what happened. Sure. But, like, what about parrots, or, God, even, like, you know, cows are really smart, or, you know, like, there's, I don't know, like, where you draw the line there. And, of course, we're finding out, like, different intelligence levels every single day, but, yeah, it's just interesting to think about.
But I also feel like she never brought that up with anything but the dolphins, you know? Like, she had no qualms about acquiring a squirrel or a wolf, or at least that we see.
Yeah.
You know?
But I wonder if she'd start to struggle with that, like, as she collected more morphs.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. It's at some point you just can't bring it up. And, like, she very clearly they're, like, you know, they're worried about it, but they can't worry about it, you know? Like, now is not the time.
Right. Got a world to save.
Exactly. And you have to go to extreme lengths to save the world.
Okay, we got half an hour to finish this book.
All right. So, it's, I think, going to be easy because it goes really freaking fast from here on out. And that is, they light up the distress beacon. They're waiting in their battle morphs for an ambush, which, by the way, this is, like, really exciting that they're starting to kind of, like, do the offense instead of just defense. So, yay! And the bug fighter comes in, it lands, the Hork-Bajir comes out, they take him down, and Marco goes, this is too easy, but not in the way like, oh, well, that was just too easy. It's more like, oh, shit, we're in trouble. So they, as this happens, of course, Drake and Beam start firing all around them. They're completely trapped. They are stuck because they're surrounded all the way around by bug fighters, by Hork-Bajir, by Taxons, completely ambushed in this quarry. That distress beacon that Axe lit up was an old code. And Visor 3's like, what, do you think we never change our codes? And it's like, Axe, if you weren't just an Arsith, you would have gotten this. But he didn't. He lit up an old code, and that completely let them know that they were there, and they were the Andalite Vandalites. Yay! So they're trapped, and they're like, Tobias, get out of here. And Tobias is like, we're in a quarry. There's no headwind. I won't even get out of here before they fry me. And so they're all like, all right, well, let's see what happens next. And Marco starts talking about how Visor 3 looked like Axe and Elfangor, but the feeling is totally different. It's this feeling of pure evil. So that's, I love that description. I love how intense it gets. And then Axe goes a little nuts because Visor 3's there, and this is only his second time interacting with Visor 3, and the last time they were just running for their lives. Right. And so Axe starts to argue with him, and Jake orders him to be quiet. They're like, we can't give him anything. He can't, like, anything you say, you could slip up and get us caught.
Yeah, don't talk to him.
Yeah, exactly. And Visor 3 goes on about how much he loves the battle morphs and all the flora and fauna, well, fauna, not so much flora, on Earth. And
he mentions again how much he loves cats. He's a total cat enthusiast.
He really is.
He's like, especially you, Jake.
Especially that tiger cat thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he was going to demand that they demorph from their battle morphs, but because this repertoire of animals is so impressive, he wants them to stay in morph, and he's going to take them to show Visor 1 that he caught them. And the way he says Visor 1 lets onto the group that Visor 1 and Visor 3 are not good buddies at all.
Right.
So, yeah. So they're surrounded by the Hork-Bajir. They order them into the ship, and Rachel's like, I won't fit. And then the door just grows so she can walk in. And Marco goes dark again. He goes into this whole thing about how, oh, this is great. This is, I'm going to die, and my dad's going to have to go to 2 graves. And just like my mom, he won't accept it for a while. And then just like my mom, there's not going to be a body. Just like my mom. This is what we call foreshadowing.
Can anyone tell me what foreshadowing is?
It's this. Exhibit A. But I won't tell you now, because this is only foreshadowing. So they're trapped in this windowless cube, and they're kind of half-heartedly talking about how to escape. Like, can we go with bugs? Can we get out of here? Marco says ants, and Cassie's like, I thought you hated that morph as much as me. And Marco's like, I did, I'm just desperate. So they're talking about that, and then a porthole opens up in the side of this cube, and they get this beautiful glimpse of Earth. Like, they're in space, and they can see the whole world, and they have this moment of like, that's our planet, and we failed. I mean, it's our planet for a while, but this is kind of over now, so that's wonderful. And then they start to turn, and the real thing that they were trying to show them pops up, and that's the mothership. So we get to see the Yerk's mothership, which is, the description to me sounded like some sort of jellyfish.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah.
It's like a big kind of head thing with some long tubies coming down. Yeah,
and they mention like, oh, the Kandrona rays in one of the tentacles or something like that, and I could not picture that part of it. And then Axel's like, oh, there must be a Kandrona on Earth, and they're like, Axe, where have you been? We already knew that. The answer is at the bottom of the ocean. So, they see this giant ship, and Axe is telling them, like, this is supposed to terrify us. He's showing us this because he wants us to lose hope. And they're kind of already there. The ship doesn't really affect them that much. Like, they see it, they're kind of like, yeah, okay, but, like, we're already pretty much dead, so great. And then I had another moment here where Marco mentions that Cassie and Jake are sharing this moment together. And, of course, because it's from Marco's perspective, we don't know. But I bet there's a dialogue going on between Rachel and Tobias, too, that we just didn't hear.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I want to know.
Oh my god. Because, like, in previous books, like, Rachel and Tobias do have a moment where Tobias was like, Rachel, I've always wanted to tell you. And she's like, I already knew.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, I think Jake and Cassie had that at some point, too. So, like, do they just tell each other that they love each other, like, right before they're always about to die? Like, oh my god.
Yep.
Ugh, that just fucked me up a little bit. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Well, this'll mess you up a little more. Marco is mad at them because he doesn't have anyone to say that to.
He's the
other kids,
wheel.
Yeah, he's the fifth wheel. Like, he doesn't have anybody to say this to, so he kind of, like, turns to Axe or Axe says to him, do humans fear death? And Marco's like, yeah, we're not crazy about it. What about Andalites? And Axe is like, we're not crazy about it either. And it's this moment of, like, they're going down together, and Axe, like, in this moment is kind of, like, giving back a little, like, oh, I'm taking on, like, how you would talk. Like, I'm just giving back a little bit. So,
yeah.
I love that. So, the camaraderie even now, like, even, like, Axe coming into the group, you can tell he's, like, a good fit right away, and I just love it. But, yeah, they tell each other they love each other before they die, and then they never... I mean, what can you do? So, a whole bunch of troops run in, and there's a little bit of chit-chat about different colors of them. Each Visor has a different army, and they have a different uniform, and so Axe is giving us a little more backstory on, like, you know, who's doing what, and who's red versus gold, and that sort of stuff. And we realize that it's Visor 3 and Visor 1's armies interacting, and they don't like each other. And then we see Visor 1 walk in, and it's Marco's mom.
No!
Yes.
I wrote,
After
what the
2
fuck, in all
years.
caps.
Yeah. And that's, this is why when we were talking back in book 1 or 2, and you were asking about how Marco's mom died, I was sitting here just like, rubbing my little hands together.
God!
Yes, and when you were asking about, like, who's Visor 1? What about Visor 2? I was like, I would love to tell you that right now.
Just you wait.
Just you wait. God. I know, it's Marco's mom, who's...
Total Darth Vader moment.
It's a total Darth Vader moment, except then we get the internal dialogue where he's kind of numb for a moment. And you get that because... the only dialogue on this page for a little bit, other than Marco just kind of, like, trying to take it in, is Jake going, don't say anything, don't be suspicious, that's not her, that's not your mom is dead, that's not her.
Oh,
and
my God.
Marco's just like, this is my mom who's been dead for 2 years, this is almost the anniversary of her death, and she's standing in front of me right now. Oh my God.
God! Gut punches!
Gut punches. I have chills.
No.
So, we get this, like, onslaught of information here, just from the conversations between Visor 1 and Visor 3. And Marco's, like, he's having these internal moments of, when did she become a controller? When did this happen? Was she the one taking me shopping for school clothes? Was she the one kissing me goodnight? Was she the one there for my nightmares? When my mom and dad were making out like teenagers, was that her? Was that the Yerk? And then Visor 1 starts talking to Visor 3, and we find out that this whole invasion was started by Visor 1. Because she mentions when Visor 3 said the humanoid creature, you seem to have startled him, because Marco sat down very quickly as in his gorilla morph. Visor 1 replies, that's a gorilla, you should know this, if you're supposed to be taking over this invasion. And it goes from Marco reeling and having this horrible internal thing to finding out that Visor 1 was the Yeerk that snuck in, started this covert operation. She handed it over to Visser 3, and she thinks he's totally incompetent. Which is true. And Kaycie, I have a question for you now.
Yes.
So, part of the problem here is that Visser 3 can only learn from what other people tell him, because he's not willing to give up his Andalite host body morph. For obvious reasons. But that means that he can't know anything about the planet he's invading firsthand, so he'll never integrate well, and he will never be able to kind of take on the knowledge that he would need to for a covert invasion. So, if you were in this situation as Visser 3, what would you do?
Ooh. That's... Holy shit, I don't even know.
Right?
Oh my god. Wow, that's just like... The depth of his character just like increased tenfold in my brain. Like... Because he wants this thing, he wants to be the head honcho, but he'd have to give up his Andalite body, which, oh my gosh.
And that's his Andalite body's the only reason he's Visser 3. He's the Yeerk that captured an Andalite, that did the thing that no other Yeerk has ever done.
And it's
how could you give that up?
And it's the Andalites who are the arch nemesis of the Yeerks, which is even more impressive, and oh my god, my mind just exploded.
But he's never gonna catch these Andalites, which we know are children, but are Andalites to him, that have integrated with this planet, because he will never have the knowledge to do that.
Damn!
I know!
I'm shook.
I'm just shook. This is what I'm talking about, you're so hip. You know things like, I'm shook.
I don't think people say that anymore, though. It's like dabbing. They don't do it anymore.
Oh,
but
no.
Anyway.
Anyways. So that was...
Holy crap.
I know.
Damn.
I was thinking of that, and I was like, man, he's in such a tough spot.
Oh, man.
So...
Well, that's fun.
After that... Yeah, that's after that fun romp. We kind of come back into Marco and his mind, and he realizes that nobody but Jake recognizes that that's his mom, and he just says to Jake, do not tell anyone. Do not. And then we kind of bounce back to Visser 3, who has this moment where he goes, why is only one of you talking to me? The child of the group. Why does everyone stay in morph? And he makes these mistakes where he's like, I don't want anyone else to have the Andalite powers, so he's not going to infest them. So they could be infested and converted right at this moment with no effort on his part, but he doesn't want to give up the advantage that he has, being the only Andalite. 2, he shrugs off this observation of, why are you all staying in morph, and why is the child talking to me, without questioning it. And then 3, sends them away to a holding cell, without doing it himself. Yeah.
You fool!
You fool, Visser 3! You fool! Oh, my god. So, as they're marching on the way to the cell, Marco has this resurgence, where it's almost like seeing his mom has made him realize that there's a way out of everything. Like, there really is a way out. So he's gonna fight, and he's like, no matter what happens, let's go out in a blaze of glory. And this is so absurd coming from Marco, who up until this moment, because I mean, we know that's his mom and Jake knows that's his mom, but like the other Animorphs have no idea, and he's suddenly like, we gotta fight. I got a fortune cookie once and it said fall down 7 times, get up 8, and we can't go down without a fight. So because of a fortune cookie, they're gonna destroy everyone. Yay!
It's legit.
Legit. I mean, I've gotten some good fortunes before, whatever. Yeah, so they come up with this insanely harebrained scheme where they're going to morph into bugs, get out of there, morph back to battle morphs, and just do as much damage as they possibly can before they're killed. And they're
that's kind of what they did in book 3, too. That was kind of their plan.
Yeah, and that's... when you're backed into a corner, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And Tobias is like... Jake says, well, we'd have to leave Tobias. And Tobias immediately goes, absolutely, leave me. I would feel better knowing that you guys are out there causing damage while I am stuck here. And Tobias, you kill me, man. You kill me in my heart. He's so, like, he's willing to give up so much all the time. I love him. So he's ready to send them out and just stay back as a hawk in the holding cell, which is really freaking depressing. So right as they're about to start this, like, let's morph to ants, this crazy death charge, the door opens and they reveal Visor 1 soldiers. And there's a Hork-Bajir there that can speak flawless English. Just another thing that Visor 1 has that Visor 3 has never quite been able to get. So that's awesome. And so this Hork-Bajir is kind of like, here's your escape route. Here's how you're getting out. There's a pod down here that's going to jettison you back to Earth once you get there. It'll land in the same spot you're taken from and then explode. Get out. Anything on your way out from here, you're on your own. But we've cleared the way. So that's just crazy. And they're like, what is this Hork-Bajir doing? This is a trap. Then they realize this is politics. Visor 1's trying to make Visor 3 look really bad. She's trying to get him taken off the invasion of Earth. Oh, this is so epic. I just get so excited by this sort of fighting in here. So they go charging out of the doors, of course, because they're all ready to go down fighting anyways. And now they have a shot at living, and they're still willing to go down fighting. So they charge down the hallway, Rachel in front, and it's just, she's basically like going along, skimming the edges of the corridors and just taking out everybody in front of her. And they're like, you know, falling down, getting crushed. The ones behind them are jumping over them. And then this part I absolutely loved is that Rachel, while she's leading the charge, is like, she's already crushing people. And then Axe announces as they hit this like band of Visor 3 soldiers, battle, and it's supposed to be announced like he's saying party. So I got really excited by that, and I wrote, Kaycie, give me your best impression of this.
Oh god. Oh. Wait, so you're picturing like a frat boy being like, battle!
Yes, exactly. I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Yes.
So they're fighting to get to the escape pod. And they hit the drop shaft, and it's just awesome because you get this whole glimpse of alien technology, because what they have to do to move between floors is just give simple thought speak commands. And this is like, how does that even work? Like, the technology behind this just blows my mind. Because they can think like 12 floors down instead of like, oh, 12 floors down is floor 34, so I have to know 34 versus what. Like, this just blew my mind, the technology that went in behind this.
Yeah, it's very, like, seamless.
Yeah, oh my god.
It's
if
very
they could,
intuitive.
like, get smartphones like this. So, I got geeked by the tech. I mean, I loved it. But they get into the drop shaft, and they're going down, and they're fighting as they go down, and there's a human controller that, like, just apparently is standing there looking stupefied because he's seeing, like, an elephant and then a gorilla and then a tiger drop past him.
That was such a funny visual.
Yeah, I know. I loved it. And then there is a Hork-Bajir dropping in behind them that's going to try and come get him, and Tobias breaks his eyes out, as is his signature move.
Classic.
So, and plus he can kind of control his drops in the shaft because he is a bird, so he was able to get it. He's a bird! So they get down there, and Rachel starts demorphing as they're running towards the pod, because that's the point where she's just too big, and they said, you'll have to demorph, there's nothing we can do. And as she's turning into this massive human and elephant, she kind of stops at one point, and Marco just picks her up and keeps running until they're in the pod. And they launch out, and as they're going away from the spacecraft, they have this, like, not giddy moment, but, like, they realize they're free. And they're looking back at it, and Marco is like, I'm in this fight for my mom, and someday I'm going to get her back. Someday, somehow, my mom is still alive. But she's a controller! Yeah!
Well, I feel like that's gonna further solidify, like, Marco and Jake's, like, friendship, because they're both kind of in the same position. They have a family member, a loved one, that is a controller. Whereas I'm interested to see in the future if Marco and Visser 1 ever kind of come into contact with each other, and if they have a moment of, like, Marco's mom kind of goes, oh shit, it's Marco, and has kind of, like, a reaction to, I don't know, maybe not, because that would be giving away the game.
I'm not saying anything.
I know.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it could put them in the same, like, they understand each other's position better now, but it could also put them at odds too, because they might have different reactions to the same stimuli, and then they're, because Jake is a very different person than Marco. Even though they're friends, Marco's gonna do whatever computes the best, almost. He's kind of like Data to Picard. Like, whatever the computation is what Marco's gonna do, and Jake's more like, he's the leader, he's intuitive. He'll have a different answer to the same question, and neither of them is wrong. It's just a different answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I like it. Then we end on kind of a happy note, question mark.
Yeah.
Marco and his dad are visiting his mom's gravesite, and Marco talks about how he's crying and how he doesn't think people could really picture him crying, but it happens. And his dad has this moment with him where he's kind of like, I haven't been a very good father to you. And there's this really, to me, kind of like heartbreaking moment, but I also like relate to it, where Marco just doesn't say anything because he hasn't been a good father to him.
Yeah,
so
you can't affirm or deny a statement like that.
Exactly, and he's not going to, like, reassure him when he's been a terrible father, so he just stays silent. And then his dad says that he reached out to his old boss to see if he could get a job, and that, I mean, it's finally time for him to start moving on, because his mom would be so disappointed in him if he could see what had become of them and how he's treating Marco. And that's what kind of gets to Marco. And so he finds out that, his dad says, oh, I have that job, that my old boss gave it to me, and I'll just have to see if I can remember to turn on a computer. That's when Marco goes, you were never good at computers. And they kind of have that banter back and forth, and that's how it ends.
It's sweet and sad.
Yeah, it is sweet and sad. It's like, it's really sweet in the fact that Marco's dad is finally kind of going to be there for him, but at the same time, they're standing at an empty grave with Marco's dad saying, your mom, who's gone, who's out of our lives, we'll never get her back, and it's time that we accepted that and grew up a little bit. Like, talking about himself, not Marco. Grew up a little bit, moved on, and then Marco's standing at the empty gravesite going, my mom's alive, but she's a controller, and I might, I have to get her back, but I don't know how.
They kind of switched positions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't think of that. But they totally do.
Yeah. Oh my god!
Oh shit.
Okay, Applegate, why you do this to me?
God, this was such a book of revelations to us.
Damn.
Oh my god, that's... I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, that's totally true. They totally switch logics there. Oh my god. I'm just glad I could blow your mind about Visser 3 earlier.
Oh my god, you totally did. That fucked me up a little bit.
This whole book fucked me up a little bit. Like, in the Tobias book, we had that, like, moment where it was just this oppressive, destructive, self-hatred thing that took us to such a dark place. And in this book, we just got yo-yoed back and forth between that and funny. And it, like, you come off reading this and you feel pretty good. Like, when I was done, I was like, that was a good book. I appreciated that. And then when we were talking through it again, I'm like, man, that was a messed up book.
Yep.
Oh my god, why is she so good at writing?
I don't know.
Oh, yay. And next we have a Jake book.
Oh, yeah. Why do I keep thinking it's an Axe book?
Because that would make sense, like, numerically, team member-wise, but no, it's going to be Jake, Rachel, and then Axe.
Yep.
Yep, and the next one is gonna mess you up even worse.
Fuck, really? I was hoping it would be, like, a super sad book, then a super happy book, then a super sad book. Not, like, a super happy book, but a happier book. Like, I feel like the Cassie book was, you know, it ended on a high note.
Yeah, it did, and what is the next Cassie book? I'll have to look to see, but not the next Cassie book, but the one after it is another, like, really fun high seas adventure book. It's not on the high seas, but it's another, like, fun adventure.
Sure.
So.
All right. I feel like I need to have, like, a chaser of something happy after I read these books.
Well, what is something that made you happy this week? Well, we can end this on something that made us happy each week here and use that as our chaser. So what's something awesome that happened to you this week?
I had a little bit of a confidence boost at work. I'll keep it pretty vague because I'm probably not supposed to talk about it, but basically I had written something. I did some creative writing for a project at work. Totally didn't need to do this writing, but I gave it to the actual writer on the project, you know, expecting her to change pretty much everything. I told her she could change whatever she wanted because it wasn't, like, this wasn't my job. Mm-hmm. And she sent it back to me, and she kept, like, 90% of it. She, like, changed some of the wording around, but she kept what I had written. So I had this moment of, like, oh my god, a writer thinks I can write! This is amazing!
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that made me pretty happy this week. How about you?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like I've had a pretty downer week, and probably part of it was getting through this book. But let's see if I can parse out something happy that happened this week. Well, I have an easy answer, so I'll say it, and you can tell me if it's lame, but I am just so glad that at the end of this freaking mess of a week that I got to get on the phone with you and just talk for like half an hour about anything. Because that's always such a joyful moment to me, to be able to reconnect. And I mean, you know, I think I've said it before, I'm just really glad that we have this thing now where we have like a set time where you have to talk to me against your will.
Oh my god. It's such a chore, goddammit.
So, I was glad that we, before, like, I don't know, behind the curtains or whatever, but before the call we had, like, a 45-minute conversation about not Animorphs, and it was just awesome to...
Aww. Now my answer feels really selfish and lame, and your answer was very sweet and heartfelt.
Your answer's amazing. No, when you told me that, I'm so freaking proud of you. That's amazing. So I'm glad you said that because I love that answer. I know that you do awesome writing, so for me, I'm like, yeah, duh. And I think that's what I said, which maybe came off as a little mean when you first told me. Because the first, you're like, yeah, the writer sent this back to me with like no changes. I was like, yeah, duh. Like, and what I meant was like, yeah, duh, you're a great writer. Like, obviously. So, sorry if it came off mean. In type, I don't always come off well.
Aw. I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Our Animorphs bringing us together.
Aw. So many emotions were had.
So many. Oh, man. Well, should we get out of here before the 2-hour time limit?
Yeah, we have 4 minutes. That's when Jake would be like, oh shit, you guys morph back!
Yeah, this would be the time when we're, like, struggling through molasses and, like, concentrating as hard as we've ever concentrated in our lives.
Oh, God. That scene is still horrifying.
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. But I'm really excited. I'll tell you, because by the time this podcast comes out, that one will have already come out. So for the episode arc for that one, I'm totally doing 2 wolves with just our heads edited onto that. So that's happening.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I'm really pumped.
I'm really excited that you're doing an art piece for each episode. That's just like Oh man, I'm so excited.
I'm really excited too, especially because the whole premise is that they're really bad art pieces. So it's like, I just love that whole like goofy kind of thing. So
I love it.
I love it too. All right,
well, that's our show. Thanks for
show.
listening. We actually have listeners now, which is exciting. We recorded the first few episodes as a backlog, and now we are actually going live with them, and we actually have listeners, which is awesome. Thank you guys.
I know, and like shout out to the Animorphs Facebook group, which Kaycie can't go on. Sorry, there's spoilers.
Oh, yeah,
so guys, I'm filtering everything that goes to her, but like you guys are freaking amazing, and like the comments that like how many podcasts of Animorphs there are is incredible to me. And like we've started this whole thing on there where they're like cataloging the podcasts and fanfics and stuff that you can go read now. Like 2 people on there started a project to do this, so it's awesome. Yay! Exciting stuff.
All right, well, tune in a couple weeks. We'll have a new episode for you, and till then, I don't know. We need like a cool sign off.
Adios, amigos.
Adios.
I don't. That's not a good one.
Fandalites. I don't know.
I know, I have so many Andalite puns on Facebook, but on here I'm dry.
Well, we'll figure something out. And then we'll edit it in, because that's what you can do in a podcast.
Yep. Alright, oh my god, we have 2 seconds. Okay, bye!
Okay, bye!